Okay, Mayor, we're ready for you to start our meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Susan, and we certainly want to welcome everyone to the Vinton Town Council meeting. This is our regular meeting for Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order and ask Susan to read the information she has concerning our meeting format.
Okay, first, roll call for council. Councilmember Lyles,
Here.
Councilmember Mullins,
Here.
Councilmember Stovall,
Here.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Here.
Mayor Gross.
Here.
We do have a quorum of council, town staff that are present: Pete Peters, Susan Johnson, Ann Cantrell, Chief Drummond, and Officer Robert Rowell. Also present, Jeremy Carroll, our town attorney, Debbie Adams with the Vinton Messenger, and Randy Lehman with the Vinton Historical Society. I would like to confirm that our meeting is being held in accordance with Town Ordinance number 1016 and Section 4-0.01G of Chapter 1289 of the 2020 Acts of the Virginia General Assembly, and everyone present is participating by electronic means. Mayor, the meeting is yours.
All right, thank you again, Susan. We always start our meetings with a moment of silence here in Vinton. We use that so that everyone can pray as they see fit. If you do pray during this time, and I hope you will, I certainly plan to, I would ask you to keep this country, this community, and this council meeting in your thoughts and prayers. I'll close that prayer time in just a minute. And at that time, we'll ask Councilmember Keith Lyles to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I know it's somewhat awkward, but I would ask you to stand for those two, please. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this time that we can come together. We just pray that you'll be with this country and certainly this community, and just pray that you'll be with us in our council meeting tonight. Of course, in his name we pray. Amen.
Great. I pledge allegiance to the flag
By the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Keith. And so we'll call on the Vice Mayor McCarty, for the list of activities, community announcements, and all that sort of thing.
Okay, we do have some stuff to announce tonight, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
The restaurant week that we had was a huge success, and it will definitely be repeated in the fall of 2020. We received a very nice letter from Farm Regesa stating that they appreciated being a part of that, and that it was very promising because there were folks that saw it and came in from out of town to eat there and thoroughly enjoyed it. The Vinton History Museum celebrates National Unplugged Days, March the 5th and 6th. And Randy may actually say something about that later, but it looks like that throughout the world, the little free libraries are conducting scavenger hunts, and the Vinton Community Scavenger Hunt packets contain lots of goodies from some local businesses, and everybody is encouraged to complete the scavenger hunt and return it to the museum to receive a little prize. The museum will be open from 10 to 2 on both days to feature the historic unplugged artifacts such as a Victrola record and cylinder players, a sewing machine, butter churn, washboards. So lots of good stuff going on there. And as I mentioned, Randy will be speaking later, so he may be adding something to that. On March the 15th at 10 a.m., the State of Small Business. Roanoke Region is inviting you to join on that date and time for our first annual State of Small Business. And we will be sharing our 2020 impact, current projects, and what we are seeing in the small business community. It does ask that you register via Zoom by March the 12th. And I did just see that that is posted on our Town of Benton Facebook page. So you can go there for more information on that. We will be having a council retreat this Friday on March the 5th. And our state of the town will be virtual this year. I believe that will be March the 25th. And I think that we are working with RVTV to make that a big success. So I'm sure that the mayor will do an awesome job as usual with that. And we hope that everybody gets to watch that. Our senior expo that we normally have in March is going to be postponed until September. So we will revisit that towards the end of the year. Our Dogwood Festival will be modified this year, but on Friday, May the 20th and Saturday the 21st, the crowning of the queens will be Saturday at 12 noon at the municipal stage. So there's more to come on that, but I did get a little bit of information from Chastity on the dates, and so more to come on that as well. I did have several different emails that I was reading from, so if I have missed something, then please, by all means, chime in and let me know, or if you'd like to add anything. But anyway, it's so nice to be able to finally break out a little bit and have some activities to announce.
Yes. Thank you very much for that, Vice Mayor. And you're right. It's good to hear that a few things are starting to happen again. That's very encouraging, to say the least. Okay, next item is request to postpone or change anything on the agenda. Council, you have any changes or postpones? Nope. Hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. And tonight that contains the minutes of the regular council meeting of February the 16th. Are there any changes or additions to the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Susan, did you get that? I think the motion was by Keith and the second by Vice Mayor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye and waving your hand or something. Okay. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, folks. All right. Moving on to our awards and introductions. I understand we have a very special introduction tonight. So Chief Drummond, I will turn it over to you for that introduction.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Vice Mayor, Mayor, members of the council. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you guys Robert Rao, who you should see on your screen somewhere there in the squares. But this is Robert Rao. If you can mute yourself.
Yes.
He was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and moved to Vinton, Virginia in 1989. He attended W. Cundiff and graduated from William Byrd in 1999. His school-related activities while at William Byrd was track and cheerleading. Soon following high school, he joined the United States Navy and served on the USS Haler as a damage controlman firefighter and a search and rescue swimmer. He was honorably discharged and returned home in 2004, where he is now married with 3 kids. In his pastime, he enjoys woodworking, helping his parents with farm work, and flying ultra-light aircrafts. He has also been involved in the medical field since the age of 16 and one time volunteered at our own Vinton Rescue Squad.
Wow.
With his reverence for life and strong routes he learned from the Navy, he pursued a career in law enforcement. He attended College of Virginia Western, where he acquired his criminal justice degree and then put himself through our Cardinal Criminal Justice Academy and completed his law enforcement certificate. He was He began employment at Roanoke City Sheriff's Office, where he obtained a jailer certificate. And for over 4.5 years, he sought out to obtain his final goal of becoming a patrol officer here in the town of Vinton. It is here that he plans to flourish and give back to our Vinton community through his service and to provide direction to the ones who are in need. And further that, so when Robert applied at our department, one of the first pieces of documentation I saw from Robert was a statement that he made that he doesn't know I'm going to read, but I'm going to read it anyway. It's what he wrote that really captured Robert to me. And it says, the main purpose of my existence has always been to help others and to make the right decisions. My motivation in life is providing for my family and to achieve all motions of gratification in which opportunities of latitude are presented in my path. I believe to acquire one's enjoyment in life is to obtain a work career that is not different than the reverence of working at home on projects of their own interest and hobbies. And in Officer Robert Rao's case, that passion is law enforcement. So I thought that was a really cool paragraph that Robert wrote that really captured my attention on his application. And without further delay, Robert's on your screen and I will mute myself.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Robert.
Pretty good. How y'all doing?
Good,
Doing
welcome.
well.
Well, it's nice to be here and talking with everyone on the town council.
You know, we're lucky to have you for,
Oh, yes.
for joining our crew here, our police force. Sounds like you've been around quite a while and doing some different things, not even just around here, but around the world. And to land here in Benton, we're very lucky to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, I've lived here since '89. Went to Hardy, actually, when I went to W. Cundiff Elementary, it used to be Hardy Road, but then it changed. But yeah, I've been here for quite a while. It's a nice town. I love it. I've talked to Chief Drummond back when he was a chief, when I was taking his class at Western, and I always told him I wanted to work in a law enforcement agency that was kind of like, we always joked about it, like Maybury, you know, because I grew up on Andy Griffith's show. So that's kind of, always like the town like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it used to be kind of like Mayberry here. We had a really good chief, and then we had Stovall was like Barney Fife around here. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Chief Drummond hasn't given me my one bullet yet. So
No, you got to be here a while before you get that, right?
but thank y'all for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Well, we certainly want to welcome you to, certainly to the town. Obviously, you've been around, but certainly want to welcome you to the staff. I agree with Chief that letter of introduction was great. That certainly captured all of our attention. So we look forward to seeing you in person. As a matter of fact, I think I remember you from some high school days. And so I'm watching you, buddy. So, no, we're excited to have you as part of the team. Council, any other comments?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you thank you, everyone. I apologize for the volume. We're both in the same office, so a little bleed through.
That's okay.
Not a problem. We understand those technical challenges, and hopefully we will put all this stuff behind us soon and be back in council chambers and get to greet everyone in person, you know?
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm not that happy with it.
Hope that happens real soon.
Hey,
But
Chief, real fast. I know that it's not, you hadn't been here as our chief very long, and I know you moved into this new office, but put some pictures on that wall behind Officer Rao there. He looks like he's in a mugshot.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was like, in the cold concrete wall, that's wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
yeah,
You changed it.
have to get him turned to the left and turn to the right and all that good stuff.
And that is a contribution from my wife, that accent piece in my office. It's
Well,
good.
good. Oh, well, awesome. Well, seriously though, we're glad that you're a part of the team and look forward to working with you.
Thank y'all. Look forward to seeing y'all soon.
Yeah, see you soon. All right, folks, thank you very much for that. And with that, we'll move on to another special guest we have. Randy Lehman is with us from the Vinton Historical Society. I understand you have a report this evening, Randy. Good to see you.
Well, good to see everyone else. Pete and I have been talking about this for a little while, and it's, you know, it's been literally has been a year since our first report under our new standard, and I thought it was an excellent time to maybe get a chance to talk to everyone. I'm kind of used to the Zoom. I hope everything's coming through okay.
Just fine.
My good laptop actually locked up on me. I've had somebody working on it, but I've got Mary Beth, and hopefully, unless a dogwood parade suddenly starts marching across the screen, I think we'll be just fine. I wish I had something a little bit prettier to show you, but this is kind of the nerve center. I'm in the office down at the Vinton Museum. We have literally almost everything about all of you people are right behind me in binders. And so, in case you need to find out what we have on you, just please come down and take a look. We probably have a whole file here available. That does sound very suspicious. But anyway, one thing, I'm going to break the decorum just a little bit because I happen to be sitting in a very special chair, and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to lower my camera just to show you so everyone can see it. But this is Gus Nick's chair. It was donated about 4 weeks ago, and we had this thing marked up. It was in part of an auction, and I thought I wanted to show you guys that because that will be down here in the Town of Vinton room, which we are very soon to completely renovate, refinish the floors, and make some very nice design and display area. I'm hoping by sitting in this chair that I will get either the gift of Gab or the gift of Barney, whichever one you prefer for Gus Nix, because I did know Gus. So, and there was lots of Barney and lots of love for Vinton. That's the main thing. It's a big pile of love came out of his mouth and out of his arms and hug all the time. So, for those of you who don't know never knew Gus, you missed a lot. First of all, I'd like to thank the town because we're here because you guys thought that we were worthy to be here. I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the town of Vinton by being the president here of the Historical Society and our running of this wonderful house museum. Without your sponsorship and financial support and what you've done to show us that you think that we're important, we couldn't do this. And I'm not saying we couldn't do this, we wouldn't have the money to do it. I'm just saying it wouldn't be worth our while, it wouldn't be worth our time, and we probably wouldn't be worth our heart to do it. So that support helps us. And a lot of the support that you give us is stuff no one ever sees, advice that you give us. So it's not all in documents. But anyway, I hope that most of you have received, I did forward through a letter addressed to the Town of Vinton Council staff and employees. I also provided all of our financial records in detail. I don't know whether or not that was necessary or whether or not it was required, but we want to make sure that the museum and the staff here at the museum, that we're as transparent as humanly possible with the council. And frankly, with anybody in the town who wants to know, we'll be more than happy to give them the information. Needless to say, I'll start off here, probably won't be but about another 5 or 6 minutes, but we've been seriously impacted by the COVID-19 limitations. However, we have held those, we followed those. We have sanitation stations, we have masks available for people in the event that they've forgotten. We do require masks here still in the museum while people are either doing a self-guided tour or they're doing a guided tour. We have arrows set in the floor to essentially control the flow of traffic so we don't have people heading up against each other. We limit it, generally limit it to 5 people. I think we may have been able to increase that, but we've kept it at 5 because really from the standpoint of the groups that we have together, if you have any more than 5, you're talking about a house museum and individual rooms. It gets a little crowded anyway, but we certainly don't want to have 3 or 4 rooms filled with people. So far, it's worked pretty well. Upon it, of course, we were closed most of April, all of April, all of May, most of June. When we reopened, we estimate since we reopened that we probably have no more than a third of the historical record numbers of individuals annually, which was around 1,600 a year. So you're talking about 550 or 600 people. That's a lot less than what we have, but I think it does recognize, at least in the past year that, or since June, that we have people that are interested in coming in, and usually, like I said, they'll come in groups and they'll come in spurts and rather than bits and pieces. And we do have staff and volunteers, usually at least 2, and most of the time 3 here at all times. We have 15 regularly participating volunteers. That's down from 20 the previous year. Some of that is concern with people, some health issues with some of our older volunteers. But I think we've held on to a good group of that. And of course, in February, just to give you an idea, February 2020, the last full month of data that we had, a shorter and colder weather month, we had 56 visitors and 54 volunteer shifts. And of course, by the end of this month, this month of March, we might expect maybe half of that. But I think we're continuing to work. In more positive news, we've had substantial social media connections through the Benton History Museum and the Benton Memories and History Facebook pages, which we control. In selecting the 28 days after our reopening, we documented 131 page views, 80 page likes, of which 86 were new followers to either one of those Facebook pages. There were 75 engagements for the search during that 28 days for the term looking for fun activity to do with family. That's 75 within that 1 month. And then we had 37 that responded to the Benton Museum reopens. More than 98% of these were generated from persons within a 30-minute drive from the museum. And as of 1/7/2020, from its beginning around 2016, the museum Facebook page has produced 26,700 post reaches, 13,500 post engagements, and 1,456 followers, which I think is pretty good over about a 4.5 year period. And most of that's really been in the last 3 years. The Little Fever Library, you did a wonderful job, Sabrina. I'm going to hire you. If I can't have you as a volunteer, I'll hire you. Everything you said is great. The National Unplugged Day that we're going to have, it's going to be Friday. I'm going to be here on Saturday. Most of the activity is going to be, at least the heavy activity here is going to be on Saturday, which is our first Saturday. We're always open the first Saturday. And we already have got a lot of people that have already responded to the events. I think we've got about 30 events, and we made up 100 packages. And lastly, talking about finances. We were, of course, victims of the pandemic. We had a severe loss of operating income, including the loss of 2 of our yard sales. It's a major fundraiser for us. We did, however, have something called our Charity, CHAIR charity auction, which brought in $1,901. Allowing for expenses, we brought in around $1,726 to help make up for at least one of those yard sales. We've also collected dues and been the recipient of care funds through the town. And I think also some that have been funneled through Walnut County, and we appreciate that, including our wonderful, our little floor, our little thing set on the floor here that circulates and filters our air. We appreciate you folks offering those things to us. We have one here in our office and one in the kitchen, and we do appreciate that. We've also applied to the county for, during the regular budget process, an amount of $1,600. That's quite a bit more than what we had last year, but we're trying to appeal to their good nature. So we'll see how that turns out. Anyway, I want to thank the town, first of all, for providing this, allowing us to do what we do here, providing support to us. We still have several large projects that we have in, that still remain in our planning, including electrical connections, our security cameras and things of that nature. And we do appreciate the strong support of the town of Benton in the, what we call not the best of circumstances. And if you have any questions, if anybody has any questions now or questions anytime, you can contact me here at the museum. I can certainly provide you at any time, provide Ms. Peters with my cell phone number. That's pretty much 24/7 for me. But we're here to serve.
All right, Randy. Well, thank you very much for that report. And we certainly appreciate the job that you folks are doing. Despite the challenges of this past year, you folks have continued to work, and we certainly appreciate that. I really think that the Vinton Museum is really a great asset for our town. And I'm not sure about this, but I have serious doubts that many towns this size have an extensive museum like that. And that's because of the volunteer work you folks do. And we appreciate all you do. So keep up the good work. Council, you have any questions or comments for Randy?
I do. Randy, behind you, one of those books that's on that shelf has got Keith Lyles' name on it. Would you pull it out? Would you pull it out, lay it on your desk, please?
Is that weddings or obituaries?
I'm gonna come by there in the morning because I got some things that I need to put in it for the Historical Society.
Well, you have better eyes than I do.
Oh, it might be an entire shelf. Maybe it's not one book. Maybe it's an entire shelf. I don't know.
Oh,
He's nearly a neighbor of mine, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to get involved in this at all.
it's a real small one, Randy.
Oh, man.
But literally, you'll find, I guarantee you'll find everybody's name is in here somewhere. It may only be a name, though.
Yeah, it could be so bad to just put no comment out beside it, right? Oh, goodness.
Well, I'm ashamed to say I have never been to the museum, and I'm gonna change that. And can I ask what your hours are, and could you tell us a little bit more about the little free library?
Oh, absolutely. We are open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Plus, we are 10 to 2 p.m. on the first Saturday of every month. Well over a year now, we recognize that a lot of people say, well, I work during the week, I can't get there. And they can't volunteer during our regular hours. So we instituted the first Saturday in the hopes that maybe we might even consider a couple more Saturdays. But right now, that seems to be taking care of most of the needs for people that come in with their families, that are people that are still working. It's a good place to come. I invite people to come over. My little motto, my little phrase here is we call our front porch Vinton's front porch. We invite people. We have these wonderful cushioned wicker chairs that were donated to us out here, and a sofa and a love seat. And we invite people, if we're not open, just get your coffee, and we've got a nice place to get coffee now at our Daily Bread.
Yeah.
Get your coffee, come up here and sit down and watch the world go by. And there's plenty going by. Let me tell you, you'd be surprised to go down Jackson,
I
Maple
like that.
Avenue, strollers and bicycles and people in their skateboards. And as far as the little library, we're a certified little library. I think it's 113728. There's literally tens of thousands of them across the country.
Wow.
We had someone in Salem offer us one of these literature, I guess you call it literature distribution centers. It's this wonderful polypropylene monster. I call it the monster. Keeps everything clean and dry. We have a section at the top for, I hesitate to use the term adult books. My wife tells me not to use that. But they're non-children's books in the top. There's children's books, including crayons and coloring books in the middle. We even have CDs in there sometimes. And then the very bottom bin, the third bin, is where we invite people to leave a book. Or if they return a book from having borrowed it, we put it there. Mary Beth and I will take them out and we sanitize everything, and then we put so that we can recirculate everything. But right now we have a lot of books, and we have a lady that's 84 years old that lives about probably 2 blocks down and 1 block up. And I will see her walking down, and I mean walking slowly. She walks like she's an 84-year-old. And she usually has 3 books with her, and she regularly comes here twice a week. And she picks up books and she drops off her books. So that's the kind of things that we really want to kind of emphasize. It's an unusual thing for something like an historical society to do, but not for a museum. I think it's because a lot of what we have in our history books. We have everything from history books, if you'll pardon the expression, to Amish romance novels. So help yourself.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray, have you guys decided if you are gonna have another, this year's dates for yard sales?
We, right now, our best hope is August. That's kind of what's in the back of our minds. We had our retreat last month. And we normally would have our second yard sale in September. So this would be our first yard sale more towards the fall than it is in the spring. I'll be frank with you, with our current storage situations, we almost have more than enough to do a yard sale. I say that with the understanding that there's always room for more, but we're not sure how we do it until we get a little bit safer. But right now, the earliest date we think would be the second Saturday of August.
Right.
In fact, it's not even on our agenda right now.
Okay.
Well, Randy, again, thank you and appreciate that story about the 84-year-old lady. That
Absolutely.
yeah, that's awesome. That's the kind of thing that happens in Benton. It's really good to hear things like that. One other thing too, I want to mention briefly, Randy, you touched on being transparent as far as your report and your finances, and I appreciate that a lot, and I'm sure all of council does, because anytime the town of Benton makes a contribution to an organization, that's obviously taxpayer money, and we like to be careful with that. And nonprofit organizations that we support, we like to see that transparency from them, and it's just really important. And you guys have set a great example by being as transparent as you are, and I just think that's so important. So thank you for going the extra mile in that report. That I'm sure that makes Ann and the folks over in the finance department a lot more comfortable. And so appreciate you guys doing that. You're leading the way in that. That's great.
Well, having said that, let me at least recognize that Debbie Pitts, our treasurer, who comes, of course, out of the Explore Park and working, she very, very talented and very, very capable and very, very particular. So I don't think she'd have it any other way.
Yeah, I agree. We know Debbie, so that's great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Randy, thank you for a great report. Any other comments or questions for Randy's time? Randy, thank you a lot. Say hello to Mary Beth for us. Okay, next item is citizen comments and petitions. Susan, have you received anything in the office as far as requests or petitions?
No, Mayor, no requests have been received.
Okay. And we have the town attorney listed, and Jeremy, it's always good to see you looking spiffy in your tie as usual. So,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good evening.
yes, sir, we are. And who knows, maybe soon we can get back in council chamber and we can all wear a tie again.
That'd be
That'd
good.
cool. Yeah, really would. And with that, we'll turn it over to our town manager. Mr. Peters, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor Gross, members of council. I would also just like to echo everyone's comments. Randy, great job on the presentation tonight. And we've always had, at least since I've been in town, a great working relationship with the Historical Society and the museum. But in particular, I've enjoyed working with Randy and Mary Beth and Judy and Debbie, and they have been a great team over there. And I think there's really great things ahead of them. If it hadn't been for COVID, it would have been an incredible year, but they still made the best out of it. So thank you for all of your efforts there. We have three briefings this evening, the first of which I'll present. And this is an item, we lease 8 parcels from our 2 previously Southern States, now Cargill. These parcels are located on Railroad Avenue and 11th Street. We acquired these properties quite some time ago through FEMA flood mitigation grant funding. So the properties could never be sold, the properties can never be built on, and they are adjacent and contiguous to the Cargill property. And I'll show you a quick map. Let me see if I can share my screen just to make sure everybody's aware. Everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
So these are the parcels on 11th Street in Walnut. A few of these parcels, 109 or 1109 and 1103, actually already belong to Southern or Cargill. 1129, these parcels there, and 1106, these parcels here are the ones in question this evening. So that's a total of 8 parcels that we lease to them. And the lease is expiring at the end of the next month, if I'm not mistaken. So what we have before you is a draft lease agreement to restore that lease. We would like to get all of our leases on a fiscal basis. So June 30th and July 1 starting the new date. So the first term of this lease will be for 15 months. And then it will allow for 3 additional 12-month leases. So just over 4 years, give or take. To get this lease on a 4-year, or excuse me, a fiscal year term, and that will align with the ones we have with the Historical Society, with the Advancement Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce. It'll be much easier for us to manage and keep track of these and do public notices in the future. We want to try to restore these. We do receive $100 per parcel for these lots, and we're considering that we would keep that the same, even though one of our terms, the initial term is for 15 months, it would still be the same rate for that first month. And that's, again, at our terms, just to get us on the fiscal year. I'll be back the next council meeting, March 16th, requesting a resolution, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have this evening about the document. But they've been great corporate partners and neighbors for us for many, many, many years. They use these parcels for staging areas for their tractor trailers waiting to be loaded for hauling materials for the delivery. So again, if you have any questions, be happy to answer. And I'll be back on the 16th to request the resolution. Thank you. Okay, the next item is I'll ask Ms. Cantrell if she would provide an update on the amendment to the agreement for our upgrade to our technology software. Ann?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. So tonight we have a briefing for you. This briefing is regarding ACS Enterprise Solutions, which is now Avenue Enterprise Solutions. You guys have probably heard us mention ACS before. That's our current accounting, payroll, utility billing software system. In 2018 was when Avenue bought out our existing agreement with ACS. And the agreement basically said at that time that we used to have a room in the finance department that would host the servers for our IBM software. And in 2011, we moved that to basically like a VPN network. We would access it through an icon on our desktop, but the information was held in a server hosted by this company. So we do not have our information on site. We basically just have a way to access that information. And so as a part of this process, our current company is asking to renegotiate the terms of the agreement through this amendment. Basically, it's a price increase. There's not been a price increase for several years. We do need to continue to use the software until we get fully converted on our new one. So January of 2022 is when we're anticipating to finish our final module. If we're not able to convert all of our data into our new system, we may need to extend this to a longer period of time, but we would have to bring that amendment back before you because this amendment that we have before you tonight would just cover one period. So tonight is basically the briefing to go over what the software that we're currently using is, that we have an agreement, to let you know that we have an amendment to the contract that we need to approve. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. I'll roll it right back to you for the next item. This is for an appropriation to the utility fund for a sewer line relocation project.
Thank you, Pete. So this is a project that we've actually brought before you a couple times. We've had a few issues getting this project completed, and I'm sorry that we have another issue, but our contractor hit rock. So what we have before you tonight is a change order because first we had some permitting issues with the contractor we weren't able to get completed. Now we have some unanticipated rock charges that we didn't budget for. A lot of this stuff is things that nobody could have foreseen, nobody could have planned. We do have the project completed, but we do need this approved so that we can pay the final invoices due to the company. So we have a resolution before you that would appropriate $35,000, and this would complete the project and cover the budget available to complete.
So let's get this right. Is this, you said this is a resolution or just a brief tonight?
Brief.
This is a briefing, and the resolution is going to be next meeting.
Gotcha.
Right, right.
Most of the time, we would bring this through Finance Committee, but because the contractor is waiting on this payment, we didn't want to delay. So we thought we would go through a formal briefing and then bring it back as a resolution.
There you go. That was my question.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
got
I'll just add to that, that this project was a result of the Glade Creek Greenway Phase 2 construction. And that's when we noticed that there was some exposure of the sewer line because of some erosion on Glade Creek. And so we took these steps to relocate the sewer line so that it would be secured and also provide for the Greenway to be completed.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ann. I mean, naturally, as you know, one of the biggest detriments in finance to government is that when people do work, it's just change orders. Because actually change orders can, you know, they a lot of times will bid low on a job or bid a job and get the job knowing that there'll be change orders. But thank you for naturally for explaining that well. And it looks like that, yeah, this is something that to get them paid that we've got to do. So thank you very much for that.
I agree. I agree. All right.
Okay, well, Mr. Mayor, we have no items requiring action this evening, but I have just a couple of updates. None of these are anything newer since the update that you sent out to council last Friday, but I will just highlight a couple of those for public consumption. As you know, the municipal building has been closed due to the COVID situation for really, I guess, since around the first of the year. We do anticipate reopening the municipal building on March 29th. So we have just a couple more weeks in its current state. And this is a result of, we feel like we've started to come out of the worst of the situation with the exposure rates and having opportunity for a lot of citizens as well as our staff to become vaccinated if they wish. So we feel like we have a path to get the facility reopened and be able to service all of the customer points of contact. And that was really why we had to close the building down. We just couldn't service everyone coming through the drive-through or coming through the windows or the front doors and all of the different activities. So we feel like we'll get that back open very soon. As Vice Mayor McCarty mentioned earlier, we are moving the State of the Town address to a virtual format, and RBTV has been gracious enough to help produce that event. So we'll be working over the next week or so, filming certain activities for this production, as well as the mayor's narrative that he will be providing for that presentation. And we do anticipate that being released on March 25th. If any of that changes, I'll keep you guys in the loop. A little bit of a glare here. There were 3 crosswalks that were painted last week in downtown, and these are things that have been in the works for quite some time, but we did restore the crosswalk at Carillion on West Cleveland. That is from the employee parking lot over to the medical care center itself. And so that area was repaved or restriped. And then we added one by the Vinton Branch Library that connects over to the museum. It's not a direct line, but it does connect more of some of our heavier activity centers to the block where the museum is. And we also placed one down by Our Daily Bread and Vinton Baptist, because we do have a lot of customers as well as employees who utilize Vinton Baptist Church to come and go, and then as well as Sunday patrons there to go to church, walk across to Our Daily Bread or Good Pies. for meals after church services. So we wanted to add one there too. So I think that's a nice addition to our downtown. And we do have, just wanted to let council know, we do have an active slate of contracts and such coming up for Gish's Mill. So in the update last week, you'll see a lot of tentative dates there and a lot of agreements between the developing team, the EDA, Roanoke County, and Roanoke County itself. So looking forward to getting that underway. A lot of activity of design and contract negotiation with the state agencies that are assisting us with some grant funding. So looking forward to moving that forward. Do you have any other questions? I'd be happy to try to answer those. And that would conclude my portion of this evening's meeting. Thank you.
Okay, Pete, thank you very much. Council, any questions or comments for Pete this evening? All right, if not, we'll move on to the appointments we have for this evening. I understand there's two of them. And Councilman Keith Lyles, I believe, has a nomination.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that Kelly Moore be appointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals and as an alternate to complete Joe Robertson's unexpired term beginning today, March the 2nd, and ending on June 30th of 2022.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that nomination. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for that second. And if I could just comment briefly before we take the vote, really excited to see people like Kelly Sue applying. She's an energetic, intelligent young lady, and it's really good to see our young folks in town stepping up for these important boards and commissions. And BZA is certainly an important board. So just really, really happy to see someone of Kelly Sue's caliber apply for that. So we do have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Sue, would you call a roll, please?
All right. Councilmember Lyles,
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. So thank you, council, and thank you, Kelly Sue, for applying for the BZA. We're excited to have you as part of the team. Okay, our second nomination for this evening, I think Councilman Stovall has that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that Ray Sandifer be appointed to the Roanoke Valley Regional Cable TV Committee to fill the vacancy citizen position starting today, March the 2nd, and ending August the 31st, March the 2nd of this year, ending August 31st of this year. Of course, Mr. Sandifer, a couple of things. Number one, for a long time in this community was not only a businessman, him and his wife owned a business, but also citizens. He's still a citizen. And to get back in the game, of course, we thank him for doing that. And I'd like to make that motion to appoint him to the committee.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori, for the second. And just briefly, I'd like to comment too. It's like you said, Mike, that's a good way to put it. Good to see Ray back in the game. He's certainly been part of our community for a long time. Matter of fact, Ray and former Mayor Charlie Hill kind of got me started. So I told him I would get him back sooner or later. So revenge, no, I'm only teasing. It's been an honor to serve and an honor to know Ray. So I'm really excited about Ray being part of the team again. Any other comments or questions? Susan, if you would call a roll, please.
Councilmember Lyles,
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins,
Yes.
Councilmember Stovall,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Okay, thank you, folks. I think our next item is reports from council committees. I don't see anything listed for this evening. So under the mayor's section tonight, just a couple really brief comments. Just once again, I want to thank Randy for a great report, and not only the details that he pointed out, but it's just an indication that despite this unusually difficult year, things are still working here in Benton, and a lot of good things still going on. So we appreciate the work that they're doing. And by the way, Ann, thank you for turning me on to the earbuds. This worked out real well. I like them, you know.
Oh,
And
thank you, Ann. Thank you for clarifying that. We thought you got, we was texting during the meet. We thought you got hearing aids, but we glad they're earbuds.
I could probably use that. I could
appreciate
probably.
I appreciate that clarification. I done
Yeah.
texted Councilman Lyles. I said, Keith, Mayor's hearing aids look good. They're a little long, but they look good.
Yeah, actually, Mike, these run out to a big old horn that's sitting out there, man. You should see it.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. No, they do help a lot. That's for sure. Just would remind council of our retreat coming up on the 5th. And just a very special shout out to a great young man, Justin Burley, in our community on his birthday. And with that, I will turn it over to council for their closing remarks. Tonight, we will start with Vice Mayor McCarty. You have anything further for this evening?
Well, I promised my nephew that I would bring this up again. He's asking me when we're going to get a skateboard park in Vinton. So I just want to put that plug in that we got some young folks that are interested in coming to Vinton to skateboard in a park. So, but other than that,
That poor fellow's been asking about a skateboard park for a long time, and before we got to hurry up and get on that, or he's going to be wanting a scooter park.
I know. I think they ride their scooter. I know, it's been a long time.
Yes,
But
you gotta get-
I promised him I would say it again, so.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Vice Mayor. That has been a challenge. There's no doubt about it. It's something we'll have to keep in front of us. So tell your nephew we haven't forgot about it.
All right.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe he can have his wedding at the skateboard park. Oh my goodness. Anything else, Rita?
That's all. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Appreciate that. And with that, we'll move to Councilman Lyles. Anything further, Keith?
Not a whole lot, Mayor. Just wanted to, I'll share this with you guys. When we had the soft opening at Joe Goodpie's, I talked with Darren, Billy's daughter, and she and I grew up down there at Benton Motors and back in the shop running around and stuff. And she told me that she was going to one day bring a former employee down there that I used to hang out with, and a lot of the kids that worked at, a lot of the kids that their fathers and parents worked at Benton Motors hung out with, and his name was Pete. And Pete is 79 years old now. He retired from Benton Motors after 52 years. And she called me today and said that she was going to bring Pete down. And so Pete, I don't know if you can see a lot of glare, but
There you go.
Pete used to be the man that did everything down at Benton Motors. And like I said, he worked there for 52 years, and he walked in, and it was pretty emotional for him to see him walk in there as to how it's changed. And, he spent his whole life there. And it was a pretty cool moment to spend some time with him down there at Joe Goodpie's today. We sat and just reminisced about the old times of growing up there and his life there. He was very excited to see that the old building had been turned into something that the place was packed and everyone was enjoying it. And like I said, it brought tears to his eyes. So just thought I would share.
Wow.
Wait.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Keith, for sharing that. That's really awesome. That's the kind of thing we hear about over at the museum, right, Randy? Hear about things like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything further, Keith?
Nope, that's all.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. So, Laura, it's your turn. You have anything further for this evening?
I would like to say I am happy to welcome Mr. Sandifer back. just a couple years ago when I was in high school, I shadowed him for when I was a senior and he was on town council. And I like to think that maybe he wanted to come back on RVTV because Susan and I are such draws for that committee. And
That's right.
so
Absolutely.
we got him back.
Yeah, we
Yes.
know. Yeah.
He and I both have RAV4s, and sometimes we wind up washing them at the same time at the car wash, so.
Good
he
for
always
y'all.
asks me about my RAV4, so. Funny.
Well, let me know if you need any practice, Susan. I'll be glad to
Oh,
bring you.
yeah, right, okay,
okay.
will do.
Yeah. So Laura, you're right. That was just a few years ago. when
Yeah,
he was
just a
doing
couple,
council.
just a couple.
Go.
Oh, thank you for that. Anything further, Laura?
No, sir, thank you.
All right. Councilman Stovall, it's your turn, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, a couple of weeks ago, as y'all know, I can't hide this fact. Naturally, we hunt and everything. And I had a friend of mine call me. And so he brought one of his friends over in a profession that I used to do that I can't talk about in front of Councilman Lyles because, he doesn't like me to mention all that. But anyway, I was standing in my driveway and we was talking about some things. And one of the guys that was there is involved in, is still a high ranking official in a law enforcement position. And I won't give that because if I do, I'll give it away. But he did make a great comment. And I want to take my hat off to the chief and to the police department, because one of the things that he said was the outside of Benton, outside our walls in the town of Benton, that Chief Drummond and the job that he's doing is hiring quality police officers and hiring people that police agencies say, I would like to have had that officer, whether male or female. And so, Chief Drummond, I do take my hat off to you for that. Naturally, I'll always have a love for the Benton Police Department. So I thought that was very gratifying, to be standing in my driveway and hearing him say that, to the fact of Benton, small town. I know tongue in cheek, we made a comment earlier about Andy Griffith and Mayberry and all that, but I mean, to the fact of, to let people know that the first and foremost, the biggest thing that we offer and that what we can offer is that safety aspect. You can go to bed at night and know that you're safe. So anyway, I want to take my hat off to Chief Drummond on that. I do want to, and thank you, Sabrina, Vice Mayor. Just listen to her make a comment. And we've got a retreat coming up on Friday I remember back in the day when the Cundiffs, Wilbur and Shelby owned the tire shop across the street from the fire department. And naturally we bought that, tore that down, all that. I mean, is this truly an answer? And I'll use your nephew, Sabrina. I mean, is it truly an answer that we just say, hey, as a town, we wrap our arms around this, grab the bull by the horns and say, okay, one of two things. Either we're going to put one of them in somewhere in the town, or we're not going to do it. Because, back in the day, I do remember, and I wasn't on council, but I do remember that was one of the spots that we wanted to put, or somebody wanted to put, maybe him, somebody wanted to put a skate park in. So, that may be something we just truly wanted as a town take a look at and say, as at the time, whether we're in leadership, The leadership says we're going to put it in. The leadership says we don't want to put it in. Just something that I wanted to throw out since you mentioned that, because I did hear a friend of mine said something a couple of months ago about it. And, I don't know whether it's popular or not. I really don't. I'm not in that game. But anyway, just something that I wanted to throw out, and something that, that we truly need to look at. And I do want to say again, this is tough on me, but anyway, because I have to practice these. Y'all know this. But anyway, I had a conversation last Sunday. I've never been to a personal side. I've never been to a cake tasting in my life for a wedding. My son, as you know, is getting married in my backyard on the first Saturday of May. And we went to a cake tasting for the wedding. And we left there and went to Joe's Good Pies. And a guy named Carl, and I wish I'd have gotten his last name, but he came up and he started talking about all the history of Benton Motors and started spitting things out at me because he knew I was on town council, truly, and I couldn't answer. As you very well know, I tried to ad lib to get through it, but I couldn't do that. But one of the things that council or one of the things that Keith brings to the table is a lot of knowledge. I saw a guy today at the end of a meeting, and his name is Sean. You may know Sean. Sean used to work at Benton Motors back in the day. He was Dennis Furrow's assistant. You remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw him today, and he was talking about Joe's Good Pies Vineyard Station, and he said, we just need to get everybody together down there one day and just let everybody stand around and talk about all the history of that. So anyway, and I was telling him about you. So anyway, Keith, as far as that issue is concerned, Keith brings a lot of knowledge to the table. So anyway, that's just a history side of Benton. Back to Randy being on here and the history side of Benton Motors. And I think it would be great. I mean, I really do to get people back down there, stand around one day and just let everybody talk about all the memories that they have of that place. Because Sean talked for 30 minutes about all the things that he did down there.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of history down there. That's for sure. A lot of history. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Anything further to come before council this evening? If there's nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Keith, was that a second?
Second, Mayor.
All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye and waving goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.